Hello, everyone. This is Paul Harbour with Voices of America podcast. We are now changing the name to Voices of Acceptance. After searching and searching for Voices of America on iTunes and on their podcast format, it's too hard to find, so we're changing it Voices of Acceptance. There's not a lot of competition out there with that wording and that title, so that's what we're going with. This podcast is my attempt to show that regardless of ethnicity, religion, culture, all these socioeconomic levels, just anything that makes us different from one another, that we are basically the same in the center. So at the core of ourselves, the core of our souls, we value the same things. Today's podcast, I'm interviewing Colten Harbour, my oldest son, and still this is in the experimental stage. Soon we'll be going to the Appalachian Trail, do some interviews there, try to interview hikers from all over the world, go to New York, interview some people coming into Ellis Island. I'm wanting to get a lot of different people as much as possible. And I will finish my journey in Ireland. And in Ireland, that's kind of the home of many of my ancestors, and I want to go there and interview just as many people as I can. It's going to be an awesome experience, and I hope you're there to hear it. Hope you come back. All right, we'll get started. Thank you. All right, today I'm sitting down to interview the last child, Colten Harbour. He's not the last. He's my oldest son, but I've interviewed the other kids, so now it's his turn. All right, Colten, welcome to the podcast.
Hello.
Will you state your whole name, please?
Colten Danny Ray Harbour.
All right. Where does that name come from?
Colten, from a boxer that you once boxed, and then my middle name is from your two brothers, my uncles.
Yeah. This guy Colten, I don't remember his last name, but he was a guy that I boxed when I was about your age, and I just liked his name. And then Danny Ray, of course, I'm close to my brothers. So the Colten Danny Ray Harbour. It's kind of hard to know where to start a podcast with somebody that you're related to, because you already know all the answers to all the questions, so you have to kind of act like you don't know the answers. So tell me a little bit about yourself growing up. Well, how old are you?
19 years old.
19 years old. What's one of your earliest memories?
Earliest memories. I have to think about that.
Well, I can get you started. Earliest memories, I think, would be, playing ball like in your diaper in the house when you were a little bitty.
Well, a couple just got in trouble from Mom from throwing the ball around in the house with you too much, or throwing and breaking things. And then one of the more vivid memories was whenever me and you were boxing, and I had those little boxing gloves that had the lightning flashes on the gloves, and if I remember correctly, I hit you in the nose and you started bleeding a little bit.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, and what happened?
You just looked at me and said, "Don't hit me too hard," and started laughing.
There's one part of that you don't remember, is that when my nose started bleeding, then you wanted your nose to bleed too, because when you were little, you wanted to be like me all the time, so you wanted me to bop you in your nose, make your nose bleed. Not because you felt bad or guilty, but because you thought Daddy looked cool with a nosebleed, so you wanted a nosebleed.
Why not?
Yeah. Do you remember learning to ride a bike?
Not a whole lot. I remember not wanting training wheels.
Yeah.
That's about it, really.
Why didn't you want training wheels?
I didn't feel cool.
Yeah? And how'd it go? How'd it turn out?
Turned out pretty well, if I remember correctly.
Did it take you long?
No.
No?
Not that I can think of. Just got on, I was natural, if you'd say.
Yeah, I kind of remember we got you going down the hill, and you hadn't even been riding a week or two, and you had decided to launch yourself down this deep bank where some older kids were doing it, and then ramping off the end of the ditch. So they'd go down this bank into the ditch, ramp off the other side, and then keep on riding. And here you are, about 4 years old. You wanted to do it too, and just as I came out to stop you, you took off and wrecked and fell down and started crying. And I thought, well, it's a good lesson. He learned a good lesson. He'll come home. And you grabbed that damn bicycle and turned around and went right back to the top of the hill.
I sat on it.
Yeah, and did it again. Yeah. So how about school? What are some earlier memories from school?
Well, one of the ones that come up to mind first is I think I was in first grade, but for some reason we went over to Miss Karras's room because 9/11, and we were all just sitting in the classroom watching the TV, which never came on unless something big happened. Right. That's all there was. That whole day was just watching TV, and nothing went on that day.
Yeah, I didn't ask Mercedes about this, but how did the teachers react to that?
They were just stunned and just like didn't know what to do. Really, it seemed like Mrs. Karras was. It even seemed like she was kind of depressed about it, even though she didn't really have family there.
Right.
It's just weird seeing the teachers like that.
Yeah, I remember that day too, because I was working, and I was working for Overhead Garage Door at that time. Stopped at a house. No, we were at the shop, because this happened before 8 o'clock. We would always pack up to get to work at 8. And I looked up the news and told somebody, I said, hey, that plane just hit that building. And then we all turned to the news, and they're covering it. And I think then the second plane hit, and but I had to take off to get to my job, so I loaded up my tickets and tools and went down to Sullivan. And the house that I went to for the job, I remember when I got there, I asked the lady if I could watch the news with her. And we sat there and watched the news for 30 or 40 minutes, and I went out and finished the job, and then I had to move on. But yeah, it was a devastating day for sure.
Yeah, I didn't get what was going on at the time because I was so young, really.
Yeah. And that brings something to mind, since the podcast is about religion. And a lot of people, there was this big hatred towards other religions and towards Muslims when that happened. Do you feel that way too?
No, I mean, you look at like other things that's happened in this world, like in even the USA, and you can't judge somebody's religion on just one person. So, I mean, Americans go and shoot up places in the U.S., so I mean, I can't really say I don't like, if that guy's a Christian, I can't say I hate Christians because of that one thing.
Right. Yeah. When you were little, what were some of your dreams and aspirations?
Well, whenever I was little, I always wanted to play in the NBA or MLB. Mostly wanted to go to the Phoenix Suns for basketball and the Cardinals for baseball.
Yeah. How old were you when you realized that wasn't going to happen?
Well, you see, I don't exactly think it's not going to happen still in my mind, but realistically, I was probably about 14, 13.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's still a dream, of course, but...
Now, I coached you in baseball. Not really in basketball, but in baseball. But how was it having your dad as a coach?
I'd say it's pretty difficult at times.
Yeah? Why?
Well, of course you were a little bit harder on me than most people, but just you kind of feel like you have to be the better one on the team just because your dad's a coach. You have to feel like if his son's this good, he can make everybody else. And then you didn't want people hating on you because I played so much, and parents would get upset saying that I was his son.
Yeah,
it's kind of.
It's a tough position for me too, because I had to be harder on you, especially in behavior. You know, you couldn't show any displeasure, disrespect, anger, stuff like that. And that was the places where I know I for sure was rougher on you. You know, you couldn't show laziness because you had to be the role model. But at the same time, you try not to be biased towards your players, but I'm sure I was a little biased towards you because the times that you were being lazy, I would just, I would chew your ass. But that would be, we would go from there, where if it was another kid who was doing that, it would be more than a chewing. It would be, the chewing would have been worse and likely being benched or something.
Yeah.
So that was tough. Do you have some favorite games, favorite memories?
Well, we were playing the Lie Days, and Cole had to be the first base coach for one of the last innings because Kirk wasn't there or had to leave.
Is this high school ball?
No, this is I was like 10 or 11. It was just now kid pitch, I think.
Mm-hmm.
One of the Light A boys was pitching to me, and Cole, the game was slowing down because their dad went out to talk to him about how to pitch to me, and Cole came up to me and said, act like you're going to bunt, pull back and hit the ball, and the bases were loaded, and you didn't know about this, and so I went act like I was going to bunt, pull back and hit it to left field, and I got a double and scored everybody. And then their dad, Light A, he started flipping out and saying that was a uncalled for, and you weren't supposed to do that in this age. Then you started getting on to me about it.
Getting on to you about what?
Acting like I was going to bunt and pulling back because you didn't tell me to do that.
Oh.
Yeah, so...
So he was mad because you did that?
Yeah.
Mostly because it made his boy look silly, I guess, or made him look silly.
Yeah, because that put us up by 2, actually.
Yeah, because by the rules, there's nothing wrong with doing that. And high school, how did high school go for you? Middle school.
Middle school, it was Babe Ruth. I was a power hitter, but not good enough to where I could hit home runs on that field yet.
Mm-hmm.
But then finally, my last year in Babe Ruth, I finally hit one over, and you were the ump that game. And as I was rounding first, I gave you a high five. That was one of my best memories in Babe Ruth. Then high school, the first year didn't go as planned. First game of the year, getting back from West Virginia, I had like 3 or 4 errors against Northview, but I still went 2 for 3, and then I didn't play for a couple games, but then started playing, ended up with like a 275 average.
Mm-hmm.
Sophomore year got better, didn't have any home runs, but average was better. Then junior year we switched to the BB Core, and I was upset about that because I didn't hit any home runs with the regular bat, so I didn't think I was going to with them, but I ended up hitting 2 home runs, leading the team in RBIs. Was actually close to the top in Indiana with most RBIs in 1A schools.
Yeah.
And then had a pretty decent average. And then senior year I had a 440. So my senior year was by far my best year.
Yeah.
But
it's funny listening to you because you remember all those stats. And growing up, you were always the most competitive person in the family. You would cry when you would lose at Scrabble. When you were 3, you couldn't even read. And you would cry when you would lose. And we'd go to the bowling alley and you would get all mad if you would start losing. You would stop looking at people and would stop making eye contact and all this and that. And you're still kind of that way.
Yeah.
You know, when you're playing video games with the little boys, you get all ticked off.
Yeah.
Start yelling at them for screen peeping and all this stuff.
Screen picking, yeah. I mean, it's kind of frustrating whenever you think of this great strategy to come around the corner and just light them up, and all of a sudden they look at your screen and they're like, oh, there he is. I'm going to go back the other way and then kill him from behind because I know where he is. That's kind of frustrating, but once it comes to like bowling or pool now, I don't really care if I lose, so I know I'm not the best at that. So, but whenever it comes to like games and stuff, I kind of feel like I'm pretty decent.
So away from the sports, how was high school? High school and middle school?
It was okay. I mean, it wasn't something I'd say was the best thing to ever happen.
Yeah? What were the bad things?
I don't know. Well, always arguing with certain people. Got picked on a little bit. Wasn't really a popular kid, but I wasn't a loner. But I had quite a few different friends. I didn't have my own group. Just ran around to everybody, really.
Yeah. Do you have a worse memory?
Well, I think it was actually in 7th grade. First time going into high school.
Uh-huh.
They have stairs, which we didn't in the elementary.
Well, you didn't know how to walk upstairs?
I mean, I did. I was walking up them fine. But the thing was, like a week or two into it, I was going down the stairs too fast and fell, and my leg got caught under my butt and just like skidded across, and like I lost feeling in that part of my skin.
Yeah. Because
it just like, I don't know what happened, but it hurt. And
so like did a bunch of people see you?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It was right after class, so everybody was going to their other classes, and then I go flying down the stairs and people around.
And did the girls want to date you after that happened?
Oh, I mean, I did look tougher, but
yeah, did you?
I did look dumber too.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, a little tougher, a little dumber. What about at home? You remember any time you got in trouble real bad here at the house?
No, not really. There's a couple situations that I didn't think were that I should have necessarily got in trouble for.
Yeah, like what?
You guys would make cookies, and I'd end up taking a couple every now and then. And you get mad about that. I mean, yeah.
Well, your now and then is every 10 minutes.
No. I mean, those cookies were good. I couldn't help myself. But that, and well, there was one with my cell phone. I remember that. That didn't turn out the best.
Yeah, I kind of have a bad temper.
Yeah. Joey, he was over at our well, I wouldn't really necessarily call them our neighbors, but that house down the road.
Uh-huh.
And he was asking him if he could start mowing, and you were mad at me because I didn't ask him. And
no, why would I be mad at you over that?
Because
did I maybe tell you to go ask them or to walk around and try to find some yard mowing jobs?
Yeah.
And maybe you said that you already did and there's not any?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I did ask quite a few places. I didn't ask that one because I didn't think they would want me to, and
I even suggested that one because she was a single woman.
But I didn't care for her. She was rude.
All right. Okay.
But he was out there, and you started telling me I need to pay for my own phone, and I was upset because I was 13 or 14, and you got mad and said it's not a right, or it's a privilege, not a right. And then you took the phone. Well, first you slapped me for back talking, and then took the phone. It was a razor, It's the favorite phone I ever had in my life. At that age.
Yeah.
Took it and opened it and broke it in half backwards. Threw it out on the ground. Pieces went everywhere. That was depressing. Knowing that my razor was gone. About 2 months later, I go out and playing basketball and over in the Alexander's yard. I find a piece of that phone.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. Laying all the way over there.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah. This piece, I think it's actually the battery.
Oh.
It went flying all the way from our sidewalk all the way to their yard.
Yeah, I don't like for people to mouth off or show disrespect, but that comes from growing up. That's how my dad was with me. As far as I know, that's the only time I really hit you in anger.
Yeah.
I mean, I spanked you a lot, but that time I was ready to fight you.
Yeah, that's...
And the phone, I broke the phone. You know, I did kind of feel bad after it was over. Not over slapping you in the face, but over breaking something. But I think I think more good came out of that than bad. Because we never had that issue again.
Yeah.
We worked things out. Though we've had some conflicts, you know, with graduating high school and going to college, and you're not wanting to go yet.
Yeah.
But you do work. That's one thing that you've always done. You worked hard in sports, and you work hard for your money because you're a maniac on the floor.
What do you mean by that?
That's an old song, a dumb old song. But you do work hard, so I'm pretty confident that even though you're not in college now, you'll work hard. My fear is that you'll be like turn into your friends where no responsibilities, no bills, and everybody just runs around and lives with their mom and dad till they're 25, 26 years old.
No. I don't even... No, I wouldn't do that, that's for sure. I mean, I'll work two jobs and then one on the side if I have to pay my own bills.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to live off my mom and dad. Like, I don't want to be telling my girlfriend's parents and her family that I live with my mom and dad at the age of 24, even 20, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially if I'm not going to college.
So where do you see yourself in 5 years?
I don't know. Living in somewhere in either Brazil or Terre Haute, working at... I mean, hopefully by then, I'm going to have my loans paid off from college, and then my car paid off, and then probably end up going back to like Ivy Tech maybe, since it's cheaper, or maybe ISU, and it's like depending on how much money I have saved up from working.
Where do you see yourself in 10 years or 15 years? Let's go 15 years. That puts you at 34.
Well, I really wouldn't mind living in Tennessee, really. I don't know job situations there.
Tennessee?
Yeah.
Where Tennessee?
Gatlinburg.
Yeah.
Pigeon Forge.
And why that?
It's pretty.
Yeah.
Relaxing. A lot of mountains.
Yeah. Yeah, we've been up in the mountains.
Yeah.
I always enjoyed when we hiked together.
Yeah, that was always fun.
Backpack. I'm wanting to do that again. Now might be a good time for us to get together and do that too.
Yeah. Depending on if I get like a job at like Great Dane or something though.
Yeah. Yeah. So in 15 years, will you be married?
Well, yeah.
You think so?
Yeah.
Think you'll have kids?
Yeah.
How many?
I don't know. I don't want any more than 3, that's for sure.
Boy or girl?
I want to have one boy and one girl. I don't know why, but just one of each, at least. Then probably 2 boys.
A boy, a girl, and then 2 more boys?
No, well, 2 boys.
2 boys and a girl.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Well, I guess you just have to wait and see.
Well, with my luck, I'll have 2 girls and be like, oh, I'll have one more. Maybe, hopefully, I'll
have another girl.
Have another girl. Be like, I really want a boy and try to have another one. End up with 4 girls, no boy.
Maybe you could adopt or just get a boy dog.
Yeah.
2 kids way easier than 4 kids.
Yeah, it is, I'm sure. But what I was thinking, do you think I could find a dog, a boy dog that could play sports?
Sure.
Yeah, like Airbud?
Yeah. Let me see. I'm trying to think if there's any questions I haven't asked. I think that kind of covers it. So I guess we'll stop here.
Alrighty.
Oh, hold on. I'm trying to. Let me think. Oh, what is the most important thing to you?
Like family and friends, staying close to you especially, because we've been so close for so long, and just staying on your guys' good side, I guess. Not trying, not being too far away from you guys, and always being able to see you and be close.
It's the hardest part about this age, for me. For me, and your age now. You know, because you're friends, your father and son, and friends for a long time, and then it kind of stops for a while. You know, as you're chasing girls and hanging out with friends and stuff. And I know that it'll change back, but it sucks waiting.
Yeah, it does kind of suck, like not hunting and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, hunting, it didn't really seem like we were together sometimes anyway, because we were, but we weren't, because like climbing trees, we had to climb different ones. But like fishing, I'll fish whenever I want and can, because we're on the boat and having fun all the time.
Yeah, I agree. Is there anything you would change? If you could go back, is there anything you would change?
As in?
Just something in life, anything. Something you'd go back and do differently.
Well, like back to high school and middle school, try harder in sports and just like work to my potential that I knew I had. And then like now, like with college, go back and from the beginning try harder and be more set on my grades instead of girls or friends or basketball.
Yeah. I thought in high school, I thought you worked hard. I thought you did great, working hard. I would like to have seen you work harder on your grades in high school and less on sports, probably. So, because I'm always wondering if that's a good balance, the sports and the academics, because you love it. I loved it growing up too, but I found the release in it at the local basketball court, playing, the fuzzball game out in front of our house. But I can't say that I made up for it on academics because I was a terrible student. But I always worry about stressing too much, putting too much emphasis on sports. I think it affects things negatively.
Well, like in my case, I felt like sports actually kept my grades better in high school. It's like I knew I had to get certain grades to keep up my being able to play.
Do you think you ever got a grade because you were an athlete at such a small school?
No.
You don't think you never ever did?
No. It was like most of my classes that I did have trouble in, the teachers were pricks, really.
Yeah?
Yeah, like...
Don't say names.
Like certain
you
classes
can say subjects, but don't say names.
Yeah, like math classes, and that was trouble.
And what was the trouble there?
I don't know, like I'm really good with simple math, and I can think in my head really well, but whenever it came to like...
You said the teacher was a prick. Why?
It was always, if you're a guy, then he didn't care. Well, most of them didn't care if you did good or not, but if you're a girl, it seemed like he was all over you, and if you were having trouble, he'd help you no matter what. But if you go and ask him if you're a guy, and it's like oh, I can't help you with this, or I can't help you with that, because it'll give it away.
You know, that's one, I think the most aggravating thing for me as a dad and you going to college is the fact that you went through 4 years of math at high school and then had to take remedial math, you know, at your first semester in college. Because in my head, I'm thinking, what the hell were they doing with my son for 4 years? Because they obviously were not teaching him math. And that aggravates me. And so, you know, I don't know everything that was going on, but there were some cases where, well, a lot of cases where you were in the class and, well, you didn't learn the material. You know, and I know there weren't behavioral issues, because I would have beat your ass for it if there were. You know, nobody told me if there were, anyhow. Well, how far did you go in math?
Pre-cal.
All the way to pre-cal. Yeah, and you know, when I was in high school, which was in the 80s, but if you went to pre-cal or calculus, you were pretty much a math whiz, and you know, you would not have to take any remedial math courses. But I guess this is just different now. Well, we're going to wrap it up.